Hey, welcome to 10X Church. My name is Patrick Style, and in this video I'd like to tell you some things that I think are going to really help your church grow, to understand what evangelism is really about, and the proven principles that I have to share with you about how to grow your church. Okay, so the story is basically my wife and I and our two youngest children have spent the last year traveling around in our RV here. We have visited churches all over the country, and it has been a fantastic journey. Okay. And so we've intentionally gone to a different church every Sunday to get that first-time guest experience and to learn from that and to see, you know, what we could pull out of that to be able to help you guys. And so we've learned a lot about this. Now, before I get to that, I want to tell you that, listen, church, we are in a major emergency mode right now, okay? The Methodists, the Presbyterians, Southern Baptists, and probably other denominations, but I know those three have all said that, listen, if we don't turn the tide of decline that's happening in the U.S. Christian church over the next 15 years, that we will get to a point where those denominations will collapse. So this is a huge, huge problem for the Christian church in America. Okay, now I don't think that the Christian church is going to go away in America. I don't think that Jesus is going to lose his power. We're going to figure this out. People like me, and there's lots of other people out there trying to teach churches how to do a better job. But I think that they're missing one important perspective, and that is the perspective of the first-time guest. And so we have gone and experienced this many, many times. And here's the default experience that we have. This might be at your church, okay? So we come and we visit your church. We spend an hour worshiping with you. We like the music and the sermon just fine. But we leave that church and we feel like, you know, if we were church shopping, we would probably just go on to a different church because nobody found out our name at your church. Nobody had a decent conversation with us. And this happens over and over again. It happens at tiny churches, medium-sized churches, large churches, mega churches. Okay? It happens all over the place. And so it's a problem at most churches. I'm thinking 90 to 95% of churches. Okay? But let me tell you a story that's a little bit different than that. We went to Calvary United Methodist Church in York, Pennsylvania. And this church, the people, I believe, were accidentally so very welcoming to us. Like, they didn't have a hospitality team that I could see. They didn't have a welcoming table. They never gave us a gift. All those things that you think about that you need to do as part of the hospitality team, they didn't do any of that. What they did do, though, is they were just genuinely welcoming people. Like, their people were interested in us. They found out that we were on this RV trip, that we were going and visiting churches, and they wanted to know more. Like, 3 different people came over and asked us about our trip, asked us if we were retired, and asked us about how the kids were doing school. And they were genuinely interested, and it made us feel like we were honored guests that morning. So contrast that experience with our default experience. The default experience feels like it's a closed club. We're visiting a club where they've already done their membership drives. They're out of that mode now, and they are done growing. They're happy with the church family that they have. And you might see this in your church because I see it in mine, okay? Versus the second church in York, Pennsylvania, where they were a community. We felt like we were walking into a Christian community and that we would be able to make friends there. So much to the point where I told my wife, I said, I'm ready to join this church right now. And that was before, guys, listen to this, that was before we had actually heard a single prayer or sermon or song. So that was an amazing experience. Then one more I want to share with you. We went to a mega church here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. One of the most welcoming experiences that we've had, first of all. And then we went into the sanctuary. We heard the song. The music wasn't that great for us because we didn't know the music was all original music and it was too loud. But the preacher preached a very bold sermon, and he was not afraid to express his faith, but he also talked about people that were unchurched. Guys, we are a good-looking family. We are a Christian family. We know what church is like, and we can kind of put up with a lot of this stuff. But imagine if that default experience of 90 to 95% of all churches are acting like a club. Imagine what it feels like to be a unchurched person or a nominally churched person walking into that kind of experience. How many times are they going to do that and then say, you know what, the heck with it, I give up, because we cannot even make friends there? Listen, when people walk through your doors, they're saying to you, hey, pick me, I want to be part of your church community. We have to let them in. And I can teach your folks how to do this from day one. Okay, so I have this workshop that I have created, and it has 3 main lessons. The first lesson is how to be a welcoming people. In this lesson, I'm going to teach your membership how to actually walk up to people, introduce yourself, start a conversation, and what do they want to get out of that conversation, and what do you want the first time guest to get out of that conversation, where they will feel like, hey, I made a friend today, maybe 2 or 3, and I can't wait to come back next Sunday. Then the second lesson is one that's really more geared towards your church leadership. And that is going to be where I teach your churches this laundry list of 20 different items that we have picked up during our journey and throughout my experience in church leadership and things like that. And just applying the principles that I've learned, okay? And it's basically, how do you make the whole worship service, from the moment they drive into the parking lot to the moment that they leave the parking lot, how do you make that whole Sunday morning worship experience so fantastic that they're thinking, oh my gosh, I got to come back next Sunday, and I'm going to bring a few friends with me, okay? That's what we're shooting for. And then the third lesson, well, basically the first 2 lessons, welcoming people, welcoming worship, is all leading to the third lesson. The third lesson is to say, listen, church, if we want to be serious about growing the church, and not just for growing our attendance, but for actually becoming influential in our community, for making disciples, if we want to live up to Jesus' Great Commission in Matthew 28, where he says to go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them and teaching them, if we want to get serious about that, then there's only one way to do that. We've got to get focused on that. We've got to make sure that our leadership teams are focused on that. That everything that we do in the church is through the lens of, what is a first-time guest going to think about this? What is an unchurched person going to think about this? How does this play into this process of leading people to know and then love Jesus and making a life transformation, okay? So that lesson is the most critical one. It's going to give you the principles that you're going to need to be able to make a difference throughout every different nook and corner of your church, your leadership, your worship, everything, okay? So these are 3 great, powerful lessons that I would love to come out and teach your church. So just read over the rest of this webpage, and you can learn more about how I'm delivering this workshop and different options for you. And just contact me if you have any other questions. I'd love to work with you guys. There are 300,000 Protestant churches in America, guys, and my goal is to reach as many of them as I can. So I would love to work with your church, and then we'll see where things go from there. All right, thank you. God bless your church, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.